Hi.
Hi, how are you? Let's
Good.
get this party started.
Do it.
Yeah.
I see. So if we want to have our sparkle wear first, you have your Sparks shirt on from the concert.
Yes, I don't know
Yay!
if that counts as sparkle wear. I do have my heart necklace from Taddy Divine, which is sparkles. I don't know if you can really see it. Here,
The
get a nice
unofficial
view of my
jeweler.
chin. Isn't that awesome?
That's cute
Yeah, that's
though.
that's actually premium content, everybody. So you can see more of my chin on my OnlyFans. No, just kidding.
Aw,
Kidding. But
awesome.
that's my sparks and sparkles for today. Well, and of course this.
Yeah.
What do you have
I
for
don't have too
sparkles?
much in the way of sparkles though. I did decide to go into my jewelry box and because I haven't sung in a long time, seriously. But when I was singing, my mom was always like, "Oh, you should get this, or you should get that big ass ring." So
Big
this is
ass
a.
rings really suit you, I have to say. I think
I
they
don't
do.
wear. Yeah, I don't wear a lot of jewelry. I don't really wear earrings, or every once in a while I wear necklaces. But yeah, every once in a while a chunky statement ring. So this is an amethyst that I think she got in. I don't remember where, Korea maybe. I don't remember.
It's
Anyway,
very cool.
thank you. So that's my sparkle, and I'm wearing my cowl necked shirt.
Really like. And as I get older, I find that I might be, red probably will always be my favorite color, but purple is a strong contender. So I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. How about your sparkles for today?
Oh, I have okay, so I went to this place called Wine Expo in Santa Monica. They not only do they have a lot of wine, but they also have like a secret back room where you can have like little snacks and drinks. I've only been there once. It was really fun. But yesterday I thought, hey, let's go to Wine Expo and see what I can find. So I have Victorine de Chassanet, Crémant de Bourgogne. A
Ooh,
Crémant.
it's a Burgundies.
It's a Burgundies, and it's a Blue Rosé. So Crémant, that's like a champagne, but it's not coming from the Champagne region.
It's
So,
just
but
it's coming from the neighboring region of Bourgogne or Burgundy. Bourgogne.
Bourgogne. So I'm yes, well, I guess so. Yes, I don't quite remember from my French class
Sorry,
when I was in high
sorry,
school.
France.
Sorry, France. Désolé, la France. The Les écouteurs françaises qui connaissent la région de Bourgogne, s'il vous plaît, écrivez-nous et correctez-nous. So, pardon pour mon mauvais français. Ça veut dire, if you are a French listener, please write us and correct us.
And tell us everything we've done wrong so far.
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah.
since you are speaking French, before I talk about my sparkles, the Mael brothers. So I know, so their last name is spelled Mael,
Yes.
and I hear it pronounced frequently as male.
Well, they pronounce it as male, so do keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah. So what? And I always say Mael, and the reason why is because I work with a guy from France, and he's wonderful. But his first name is Mael, and it's spelled exactly the same way, and that's how he says it. Like, hello, it's Mael. So
Les frères Maël.
If anyone's wondering why is she saying it that way, I'm doing it the French way, I guess.
You're very European today, which I feel like is appropriate for talking about this album. Actually,
until you see my sparkles.
Oh,
so okay,
I can't read that.
Oh, okay. I did not go to. Basically, I plumbed the depths.
It's like Stoli Boli, but different. Bologini,
Bollicini. I plumbed the depths of our basement refrigerator because I was really busy, and I was like, I know I have something sparkling down there. So I found this. I have never tried it. I think I got it at Target, maybe. Again, it's like a little 4-pack on the go. But I will say, what's kind of cute is they've got on their packaging this. I don't know if I can hold it still, but it's like
for your bubbly moments, beach, sailing, cuddling. No, I think that's cooking. I think that's grilling. Cuddle. Although I would say cuddling, definitely. You can have some sparkles and cuddling.
I was thinking, like, I don't really do any of those things.
What, the beach? totally take
Everyone,
this to the
well,
beach.
I mean, not everyone wants to live in Santa Monica. I mean, I can go down to Lake Michigan.
Actually, you know, the cannabis infused drinks.
Oh yeah.
When I bought those for the first time at a local weed dispensary here in the local area, the guy who sold them to me actually said they were perfect for the beach. And I thought, pro tip, putting it in my back pocket.
Great. So let's crack. I'm gonna crack mine open. There was a 30
Okay.
Rock bit where I think Jenna Maroney's like miming opening a can, but she's doing it with a funny like clink, 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 clink. So I will do it the American way.
I am hoping that this will open more easily than the Mum Napas. It's going to. It's gonna just everything is going my way. Yes, there we go. Hooray, hooray.
Cheers. Oh, we both have pink today.
Yes, le rose pour la vie en rose. All right, hold on.
It says it's imported from Italy. It does taste sweet like a Prosecco. I mean, not like sugary sweet like a Moscato or that type of thing, but that, you know, speaking of Prosecco, I got a little tipsy.
Santé.
Cheers. Boing. I got a little tipsy on our previous episode.
It is called Sparks and Sparkles. I think that's a hazard.
It's worth it. But I was thinking afterwards, like, yeah, Prosecco it's not like as sugary sweet, but like on the back of my tongue, it has like that soft, sweet remaining whatever.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. There is it's hard to get a Prosecco. Like you can just tell the difference. I think, you know, I remember when I lived in Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi has a lot of, and actually the UAE surprisingly has a lot of really booze fueled brunches.
Oh, you talked about the champagne brunches.
Yes. And so like you can pay about $100 and have like unlimited, you have your brunch, you have unlimited drinks of some type. And sometimes like you can have, for a cheaper version, you can get unlimited Prosecco, or you can have unlimited champagne. And I was at a brunch that I got to say, I kind of missed this brunch. Like, it was just really fun. This particular brunch also had a gin station where you could get gin.
Sounds a little dangerous.
Oh, it was dangerous. I mean, and actually, like, the brunches usually start around noon, and then at about 4 they end, and like inevitably they will open up a little bar or club right next to the restaurant. At this point, you make the choice. I'm going home, or I'm staying out for another 4 to 6 hours. I'm just going to say I never went home. Never. I never made the decision to go home. What was I going to say? In one of these brunches, I had really, you know, put away a number of Proseccos, and somehow at the end of the brunch, I managed to snag a glass of Piper Heidsieck. And I got to tell you, even after 3 hours of drinking Prosecco, I could tell the difference immediately. But this, I'm going to say this Clement was very nice. It's very light, drinkable. It doesn't have a bad aftertaste at all. It's lovely, in fact. So
great. Oh, that's so cool. I've never heard of it. I will keep my eye out for it.
Me neither.
If I ever leave my house, right now I'm just drinking everything in the house. I really have no excuse not to go buy wine other than laziness.
Well, you're going to have to, because, you know, the show is called Sparks and Sparkles, and we will be recording again. So you're going to have to. I've started to collect my corks from the show. Fun. So I don't know what we'll do with them. Maybe we'll auction them off to our big fans. I'm clearly getting ahead of myself, but
well, that is one thing. You're always very, you have big vision, and that's big something dreams. I really enjoy about you.
Big dreams.
Well, speaking of big dreams and big moments, we are here to talk about some more of Kimono My House. We talked about, oh my God, I almost said take this town and shove it. That's
take
not
this
the right
town and shove it. It ain't big enough for us
the
to.
two of us.
Did you ever see that movie? It's like the 1980 movie, Take This Job and Shove It.
I feel like I have, but I don't remember. I remember the song more than.
It's very 80s. It's very of that like weird 80s, early 80s country moment.
And union and like early and 80s unions, right? Like wasn't it?
Yes, like kind of like Norma Ray and all that stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. So one of the things I did want to very lightly touch upon before we move on to amateur hour is the video. And I'm sure we're gonna
Are we
have a
talking about the
whole
amateur hour video or this town?
this town video.
Okay.
I'm sure we're gonna do plenty of talking about it, but the reason why I wanted to bring it up was because it's such a theatrical moment, and I see this whole play behind it. And one of the things I really love about the video, we'll just talk about the very beginning, is I've been listening to a lot of like jazz age murder mysteries, like a lot of Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers, and then like just modern versions of like cozy murder mysteries in the 1920s in an English manor house.
You can really tell we're ladies of a certain age, by the way. I mean, I don't listen to those at all, but it's definitely the right demographic.
Plus, it's like all audiobooks. I consume audiobooks constantly, and so what it just really tickles me, the setting of the song and the beginning of the video has, first it cuts to like a gentleman's fingers sort of drumming impatiently on a counter, and then it pans out and you see a very dapper looking man in a tuxedo, and it's Ron Mel, and he's waiting for what you think is a woman to descend some stairs, and then you see first the white pantsuit that is very reminiscent of the 20s, and like in the 20s, like the silk pajamas that you would wear actually out as clothing were kind of became a big risque thing. And so you see these beautiful white pants, and you see like the side of a head with some lovely shoulder length curly
flowing locks,
and then turn to the camera and it is Russell Mael.
It's
and
cutie pie Russell Mael.
I love it. It makes me smile so much.
You know what? I haven't watched that video. I am so watching it tonight. Like, I have not watched it, but I love like the whole idea. Like, here comes the main event. It's the teen idol you've been waiting for, Russell Mael.
See, not even me. Like, to me, it seems like it's like supposed to be a woman walking down. Like, I'm waiting for this. I'm a 1920s dapper Dan, and I'm waiting for, lady so and so of such and such, and it's wonderful. So I'm sure we're going to be talking more about that separately, but I just wanted to talk about that before we moved on to amateur.
There's some publicity shoot that they did around that time, and I don't know if it was for Kimono or if it was for propaganda or indiscreet, but it's a great picture of them. I think they're buying like a Rolls Royce, and I gotta say, Ron has these trousers that are just like, I am like, these guys really think about their look, and clearly, like, he was thinking his hair. He looks quite fine, is what I'm going to say. But those trousers, they really look like sort of like 1940s, just very classic. Yeah, when they got their band together for Kimono My House, they did say in their ad, "Must look great." Like, they were clearly thinking about all that. So, and I'm sure, who knows the story behind the video? I don't at this time, but I'm sure they played a big role in that.
We'll get there. Cool. All right. So now we are on to what I think you have said a few times is, if not the favorite, one of your favorite songs of this album, Amateur Hour.
I really, it is one of my favorites. It's not my top song from Kimono My House, but it is up there. I just I do love it. They played it at the concerts in Los Angeles, and I felt like it sounded as fresh today as it does on the album. I mean, that is a testament both to the energy of Ron and Russell as well as their band.
Yeah.
Personally, I definitely do like it better than This Town. This Town is great, but to me, as I said on the last in part one, This Town ain't big enough for both of us. For me, it's like a really heavy, expensive dress. It's beautiful, it's perfect, but you're only going to wear it for a special occasion. And that's how I feel. Like, it's kind of hard to wear around town. The other thing I like about this song is like the guitars I love the kind of guitar flair, particularly the fade out of the end of that. I feel like you can rock out to it in a way that you just cannot for this town. And also, speaking of videos, of course, if you want a bit of Sparks Mania, this is the one you can seek out and watch young teenage girls throwing themselves
Oh yeah.
at young Ron and Russell while they try and play. And I do love Russell's warning. We want everyone to be a little safer in the hall, okay? Like, it had to be pretty stressful. Like, simultaneously, oh great, girls are throwing themselves at me, but also like, you want to actually get through your song. Interestingly, have you seen this video? I'm sure you have.
Of
Amateur Hour
yes,
live.
I've seen that live perform. Yeah, and
Okay.
because it was in they had a little clip of it in the documentary, and then separately I've watched it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the guy who is their roadie, who's pulling the girls off, Ron and Russell, actually, his name is Richard Coble, and he went on to do, like, he became kind of a big muckety muck tour manager in the music business. He's still doing stuff today. He's run tours for Madonna. He's run tours for J-Lo. He's done tours for Lorde and Sparks Connection. He's run a tour for Morrisey. Which, the reason I say that is, of course, Sparks have their song Lighten Up Morrisey, and Morrissey famously wrote a letter to the NME, that's the New Musical Express in London. It's still going, or in the UK, it's still going. It's big music mag, about how Kimono My House was a great album. I actually have the letter, if you would like me to read it.
We're gonna get into it. Yeah, let's get into it.
14 June 1974, in the NME, letter from Stephen Patrick Morrisey praising the latest album by Sparks, titled Kimono My House. Today I bought the album of the year. I feel I can say this without expecting several letters saying I'm talking rubbish. The album is Kimono My House by Sparks. I bought it on the strength of the single. Every track is brilliant, though I must name Equator, Complaints, Amateur Hour, and Here in Heaven as the best tracks, and in that order. I'm not sure I totally agree on the order. I agree with most of these best tracks. And I will say, I think there's some really some classic Morrissey type lyrics in Kimono My House, for sure, which we will get into. I like to say that, like the picture of Bill Clinton shaking JFK's hand at Boy State, Morrissey's love of Sparks was a bit prophetic. But I don't know if you know this now. Oh, apparently Morrissey used to write faxes to them. He used to send them faxes, like, all the way into the 2000s. I don't know how far deep, but now that Morrissey has expressed some views that we don't all agree with, they've had a bit of a falling out because the Sparks lads said they were disappointed in Morrissey. And then Morrissey said something like, well, I was the only one who supported them when nobody else did, or some similar sort of diva statement.
I mean, look, hyperbolic Morrissey. That's one of the reasons we love him.
Well, he is definitely your favorite problematic. This would be a great time for me to tell my story about being in a pub with Morrissey.
Do it. Where was this again? When was this?
This was at the Audley Pub in Mayfair in London in the mid-00s, pre-iPhone era. My parents were visiting, and I was sitting near this person. He looked very familiar. Then suddenly I realized, oh my God, that's Morrissey, actually. And at that point I noticed, like, lots of people, because in London, when you see a celebrity, you try and play it cool. Like, it's no biggie.
Yeah.
Anyway, somewhere there's an amazing photo of my parents in front, because what I did was I took a picture of my parents and then I just angled it so Morrissey was in the center. But what's great about this photo is that my parents are jet lagged, so they look bored as fuck. And then Morrissey's right behind them. And then I did not speak to him because, I just thought that was obnoxious. But several months later, I was in Chicago with my mom, and she and I were in some sort of shop, and they were playing a Smith song, and I went, Mom, that's Morrisey. That's the guy that we saw." And she said, "Oh, is that him? Oh, he sounds so wimpy." It was a very funny moment in
That's
my
really
life. So
sweet.
anyway,
Aw.
there's a Sparks connection there. Lots of big musicians have named this as a really important album for them. Obviously, in the documentary, you've got the Duran Duran guys, and you've got Vince Clarke and Andrew Bell from Erasure talking about it. Bjork also has said it's one of her favorite albums. One of the Sex Pistols, Steve Jones, and someone from Red Hot Chili Peppers have also said this is a really important album for them. Weirdly, if you look on the internet, and I have, under people who say that Kimono My House was an influential album, again and again it comes up that Kurt Cobain said that he was a big fan of this album. But here's what I'm going to say: I can't find a single actual quote. I can see a lot of people saying it, but my question is, did Kurt ever actually say it? So if you, dear listener, have the definitive proof as to whether or not Kurt Cobain ever said anything about this album, please send it my way. It's all part of my recent theory that, like, Sparks, they're actually time travelers, and they weren't in the time stream until very recently, and then they just went back and put all their hits in there, and then you're like, wait, where'd these guys come from? How did I not know about them?
It's
There's part of me
wibbly
that
wobbly.
wonders.
It's a wibbly wobbly thing.
Part of me that wonders that. Anyway, that's enough of a detour.
Oh,
Any
no, that's awesome. So you mentioned that you really liked the end of this song.
Mhm.
So not every song in this album fades out. A lot of them do,
No.
but except for this town, falling in love with myself again, Equator, and then Lost and Found, which you had. I now understand Barbecue and Lost and Found were not on the original album. They were released in '94.
Yes, if I can be
Please,
learned music snob, I'll
please.
be like, oh, those weren't actually on the original track listing. Those were added later.
It's too bad because they're both really catchy.
I know, they really are. They really are.
But anyway, but so most of the other songs do have fade outs. But I love this fade out too, because I feel like they still highlight the guitar. Like you can still, like you were saying before, you really enjoyed the guitar part. And I was thinking, like, if I were staging this, I would have like everybody leave the stage except for that guitar player, because it's almost what it sounds like when I listen to it, is like everyone's slowly walking off, but the guitar is still getting highlighted. And it's a really great.
And that kind of end, like, it's just really wailing. Like, I feel like you could be at a good time party listening to that. That's my feel.
Yeah. What else? Like, what you said, this is one of your favorite songs. Now, I would guess it is one of your favorite songs because it's about sex.
Actually, that didn't even occur to me, Amy.
Really?
Ooh,
oh my
no,
God, this whole time I thought that
like
was one of the reasons why you liked it.
Sparks After Dark. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I feel like the lyrics on many of the songs, you can kind of see why this was a hit with the teeny boppers, because they're all of the songs, with the possible exception of Equator, are very, and maybe Falling in Love with Myself Again. They're all, but I would actually include Falling in Love with Myself Again. They're all real pop bangers, and like
Again,
many
I
of them.
disagree with the pop part, and we'll talk about why once we get to Talent is an Asset. But they rock to me.
They rock.
Those other songs rock.
And
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like, because like Amateur Hour is all about like learning how to do sex, and then you've got This Town, which is about liking a girl on an airplane and then imagining you're a World War II pilot, and it's like totally random. But anyway, my point is, there are a number of songs on this album that sort of deal with the whole girl meets boy, girl gets boy, what do we do? So you can absolutely see why the teens were into them. Like, they could relate. And what's interesting about this album, because it is so musically accomplished, this album was very popular with teeny boppers, but also critics. And I would suspect, and I've seen a couple interviews, I have a feeling that the lads were simultaneously, they were obviously happy that their album was selling, but they certainly wanted the critical accolades
Of
as
course.
well. And when your work becomes commercially successful, the question of, is it, you know, critically, is it, I don't know, quality art or something like that, particularly if it's liked by a bunch of 14-year-old girls, that will be called into question. But obviously this album is a masterpiece. Like, we can look at it now and see that's true. And by the way, please do remind me to share with you a Rolling Stone review of this when we get to the end of talking about this. So
Cool. Yeah. There's a lot that I like about this song. And, you know, I talked last time about how I feel like this town, you're coming in the middle of the show. And this has, to me, a really like strong, that opening melody. And what, it's odd because it's really just a, like, I think, so fa ti do, or la, so la ti do, so la ti do. But the way it's played on the guitar, and just because it's like those 5 notes in the scale, I think it has kind of that Asian, like a nod to Asian music to me a little bit. I don't know if you hear it too, and maybe it's just because it's called Kimono, my house, but to me, that opening guitar riff, I think it's a really strong way to come out the door. And maybe I would never think that if, like I said, if it wasn't called Kimono, my house. But every time I hear it, I kind of go like, cool.
Well, I do believe that foreign flair is on this album, you know, the whole, like, which is another reason I like it, and I will get into that, particularly when we get to one of my favorite tracks on the album, Hasta Mañana, Monsieur. But I'm not, that may be my favorite, it may not be my favorite, but it is definitely one of my all-time favorite Sparks songs for sure. But we're jumping ahead.
I know, it's hard not to. So one of the things that really cracked me up, because when I first heard Amateur Hour, I thought they were singing like, how do you know? How do you know? I didn't realize they're saying amateur hour, or whatever. That's not right.
Amateur hour goes on and on. Da, da, da. When you turn pro, she'll let you know.
So obviously, then I was like, oh, I should probably look at the lyrics. And one of the things I really loved in the lyrics of the song are they, you know, it's talking about this, like, becoming a master of sex, and, you know, becoming a master of the art of making love, and
turning pro.
Exactly, you're turning pro. And they mention it's a lot like playing violin. You can't start off and be Yehundi Mehuin. Now I was like, well, I don't know who the fuck that is, but it just really cracked me up. So then I went and looked him up, of course, and he was a violinist who was very well known for doing recordings in the 40s and 50s. And so I just loved that. I loved that there was sort of that nod to classical music. And I don't know why this made me laugh, but in many ways, as musicians and as performers, they have really perfected their art. And you mentioned, when you talked about seeing them live, how meaningful it was, what a great experience it must have been for the band to play with both of the Mail brothers, because of they just have years and years of history and experience.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, to have, and so in many ways, like, they really are masters of their art. And all masters say, okay, yes, but you never stop learning, or you never stop growing. And I think we see that evidenced by them over and over again, which is super exciting.
That's how you become the master. You never decide that you can be aware that you are a master, but you never think that you are the master.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that way about teaching, because I teach, and I've been teaching a long time, and I think I'm pretty decent, but I might call myself a master teacher in some regards, but I would never call myself the master. And I would never feel like I've learned it all, ever.
Yeah. And I just, so it kind of cracked me up, because I was thinking about, my nephew wanted to learn how to crochet. So I was teaching him how to crochet, and he spent like 10 minutes, and he did like a little row, and he said, look, I've mastered it. And I was like, whoa, young man. I mean, this was quite a while ago. Like, no. And then I was trying to explain to him, like, it's just because you can do something doesn't mean you're really a master at it, because there's an aspect
Totally.
of mastery which means that even though you might be thinking a little bit about technique, you can do it. Like I can kind of play a couple chords on the guitar. I mean, I can play like D, A, and G, like easiest 3 chords. But I can't, I'm not, my brother, I would call a master at guitar. He's been playing for 40 years. He doesn't think, and he doesn't have to think about it. Like, so there's an
Yes.
aspect of mastery. And so it just really cracks me up. And in this song, it's talking about like mastery of sex, practice, practice, practice. You know?
Have you listened to Carnegie Hall?
Maybe not yet,
That's
but
the whole
I
song. How do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice,
practice.
man, practice.
Yeah, but this is talking about doing it.
I know, but honestly, that's like the brilliance of Sparks, right? Like this could be just a throwaway song about trying to get with girls, but no, we've got layers to this song. We've got violinists mentioned. We've got the hinterlands. Like it's never just a surface. Like even a song, like even now, a song like Home, where the lyrics are very sparse. There is more going on than just my baby's taking me home. And that those seats were there back in 1974. By the way, Amy, fun fact, when I was researching this album, I discovered that they started recording it in November 1973. And I liked that. I liked thinking, well,
Thank God it's not
little
Christmas.
Amy and little Mel were Ickle babies.
We were having a
The
very
Mail
good
brothers got
Christmas.
started on an album that we would one day talk about. Or did they? Because they could have also just gone back into the time stream. I don't know. I'm just
It's a
throwing it
wibbly
out there.
wobbly thing. As we've talked before, the vocals are great, and it's I'm constantly impressed with Russell Miles' ability to evenly sing across a wide range. And what I mean by that is that he can, in many ways, when he's singing a lower note and he's going up to a higher note, it sounds very consistent. So it's not like he's singing do re mi fa sol la ti do. He's not doing it like that. He's like the do re mi fa sol la ti do. It's like it's smooth.
He thinks about it. I really think he thinks about the delivery he wants to have on any song he does. He thinks about what he's doing with his voice and how that's going to be received by the listener.
Yeah, and
it's very cool.
That ability to have that like smooth quality. Let me just tell you, I spent hundreds of hours trying to do that as a singer, because sometimes to sing higher notes, you want to put more air into it and sing it louder. It took me a long time to understand. And again, this was kind of back to the mastery thing. It took me a while to understand, like, well, just because you can sing that high note and you can sing it loud doesn't mean you've mastered the way to sing that note, that there's a real quality to lyrical singing by keeping kind of an even sound across, especially such a broad range that he does. So it's really fun. And the other thing I love about this song, and I don't know why, but I love that when he really punches up the, so choose your partners, everyone. It's just such a fun little like, oh, all right, that takes me to another place.
Yeah, no, it's a great one. It's great. Shall we move on to Falling in Love with Myself?
Yes, and I hope you're ready for me to talk quite a bit about this one too, because I will say, I believe this is my favorite song on the album.
Oh my God, it's one of my least favorites on this album. This is going to be very interesting. I'm so glad you have a lot to say, because I've skipped over it many times. It's not one of my favorites. It's sort of grown on me. I do find it an interesting song, but it's not for me. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Let me just, sorry, I'm looking for the lyrics. Won't open. Yeah, and I this is a song I often forget that it's on this album until I listen to the album again. I'm like, oh yeah, I fucking like this one. And I think here's why. So first of all, frequently what we hear in their songs is they start off with a song that sounds like it's one genre or even one like different decade or period of time, and then they'll quickly pivot to something else. So it's
Yes.
always that, I think one of our commenters called it like the Sparks fake out. That,
Yeah.
there's this great, like, you thought we were going to do that, but we're not. We're doing this over here. And this beginning with the heavy, I think, tenor drums and that organ, and it's not like a big, it's not like a church organ. It's like the organ at the funeral home or the organ at your grandma's house, like it's that small 70s organ sound. When I hear it, like the first time I heard it, I was like, is this like an Arcade Fire song? Like, what decade are we in?
Interesting.
So it takes, like, as soon as it starts, it sounds like, oh, are we on like a haunted carousel?
I was gonna say, it sounds like a crazy circus to me. It's a waltz, but it's like a sort of crazy waltz.
Yeah, it is. And so and then they pivot, and to your point about it being a waltz, it does. I think it goes into a 6/8 time, whatever. I'm not going to get too into that, but
pretty bold too, might I say. Hey, we haven't had any hit albums. Let's do a crazy waltz and see where that takes us. Pretty bold.
Yeah. Right after we've been like on the merry-go-round from Something Wicked This Way Comes. We can't get off of it. We then have a hard cut to Bavaria.
Yes.
Wonderful, like, drinking song that's got a little bit of a hard edge to it. But I just love that nod to that like waltzing there. So it goes into the bridge where it goes like, I can't see with you in front of the mirror staring.
I like that bit.
And then it goes like, I can't hear myself think with all that music blaring. Yes, I'm falling. Oh, so a guitar, dee, bass, do. Again, if we were in a town in Bavaria, that would be like a trombone part, and then you'd have like the tuba part. That's why it just has it has this just waltzy, joyous sound to me. And plus, I like to sing it, as you could clearly hear. Though I don't think
the crazy mind of Ron Mayle. Think about it. He put that together. Metal. It's metal.
Metal.
I'm trying not to get too drunk before I go out and drink more beer. So.
Mirror staring. I can't hear myself think with all that music blaring. Yes, I'm falling.
You're giving Russell
falling.
Beautiful.
It's just such I enjoy this one, and it is one that I find myself humming to myself afterwards.
Well, they are the masters of earworms, I have to say.
Oh my God, that is such a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Interesting, though, that is not your favorite. It is one of mine.
No, I almost wondered too, because it's such a slowdown on the album, and it is like the beat is slower. Maybe it's because it's the waltz beat. It feels like the energy goes down on it. And I am kind of a high energy person. I do find I like a song that is a bit hard driving. So it's kind of like Amateur Hour is very hard driving by comparison. So
Amateur Hour is definitely a faster tempo. You're 100%.
So
right.
I don't know. I'm glad that you like it. And I once again, I do find it an interesting song. It's really not my favorite. It could be my least favorite on the album, actually.
Yeah, I would again love to stage it. It's got that, as I've said many times, it's got that like theatrical point. And I think that if I were staging it, I don't think it would be my protagonist singing this. I think it would be my antagonist, or what's the term for like anti-hero?
Anti-hero.
Yeah, that's the term.
I
feel like that would maybe be the character that I would have singing this. But anyway, so it's fun too. play
That's our
around.
next project, is making just a musical, but we will probably need their permission at that point. So, you know, what, call us lads. Yeah, I'm in Santa Monica. I am ready to meet for coffee. We can hang, we can talk about art and movies and music and other music, not just yours, although I might ask you a few questions about that too.
So now you, when you read the Morrisey list, Here in Heaven, which is the next song on the A side, was this was on his list, and you said you would agree, but maybe not in that order.
This is definitely one of my favorites. Actually,
really?
This is up at the top for me. I love this, but you know what? I love a song that has actually slightly grim lyrics set to a pop beat. It's something that I have been a fan of for a long time. I don't know if you know the musician Julian Cope. Okay, so he was in the Teardrop Explodes, and then he did some solo stuff, and he still probably does stuff. But anyway, he had an album that was like somewhat popular in the late 80s that I was a fan of, called My Nation Underground. And there's a whole song on there that's very cheerful, and it's really about fantasizing about being buried alive. So, like, and I liked that song. So I would not call myself a goth in any way, but I do love that juxtaposition between sort of dark lyrics and a pop beat, and that is all over this. Plus, this is done in, I think it's a minor key. I think there is like a minor key in the background. I feel like this song is a great Halloween song. I would definitely put this on a Halloween mix. There's something I'm not.
It's
I know
eerie.
there's yes, there's something that Ron's doing. I don't know what it is. I don't have the technical know-how to make it sound sort of creepy, and I really love that. Like, it has this like that's it. There's sort of this like a haunting, the way the guitars are set up, it's almost echoing sort of a type thing. So I love that. I also really love that the lyrics are simultaneously pretty funny. Like, the whole description of heaven, and then basically, I guess it could be worse. Yes, I do suppose it could be worse. That's pretty darn good. But they're also a little bit creepy and morbid. Second thoughts, is that what you had? Second thoughts, first I broke my back. I mean, that's a little creepy, but I like that.
Yeah, this is one of the songs that for whatever reason, I would actually call this one of my least favorite songs, not because I don't, I mean,
look at this.
But like, that is like saying it's I don't even know what to say. It's like saying it's my least favorite sparkling wine to drink. Like, I like to drink all sparkling wines.
Well, exactly. That's kind of how I feel about Falling in Love with Myself Again.
Yeah.
It's a great song. I recognize that. It's just not my favorite on the album. That's okay.
Yeah. And I will say, every time I hear this song though, I go like, oh yeah, that's so great. Now, when I read the lyrics, the story that I heard was that it was an alternative ending to Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Which I have to say, so in it, Romeo, he drank the poison, and Juliet, instead of stabbing herself, her survival instincts maybe kicked in a little bit.
I love that. That's so clever and cool.
Like, now she's just living her best life on Earth as a 14-year-old bride.
I love it, actually. I totally love that. That's super clever. I can see why it got Morrisey's attention, for sure.
Yeah. I love alternate endings. Like, I will say, have you seen the movie Hamlet 2? It was the guy who played Alan Partridge.
Oh no, but Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
Steve, call me.
I
think I'm just gonna say that anytime I mention any famous person that I'd like to meet. Call me Steve. Well, really, really call me Steve.
It's I won't get too into it, but one of the things I was actually I found myself a little bit emotional watching it, because he takes the end of Hamlet, but instead of like everybody dying, he kind of twists it up a little bit in his production of Hamlet too. And I remember at the time watching it thinking, like, that's really touching. Like, what if they didn't all die? Like, what if Hamlet got better? And what if like Ophelia didn't drown herself? Like it had like this real hope to it. And so I really enjoy the fact that this song kind of goes the opposite. Well, it's like, in the same way, like Juliet, she maybe was holding the dagger, but was like, I want to live.
Although there is also the great line in here. It's hell knowing that your health will keep you out of here for many,
Yeah.
many years. That's awesome. To me, these are Sparks' witty lyrics. They're kind of signature, just coming through. But I also just love the guitars on this. I feel like the guitars are just stellar. I love how one of the guitars has like a little bit of a wail to it. And when they have the
Oh yeah, they
solo,
use the what is that? I can't, the pedal, the wow wow wow
yes.
wow
So
wow wow.
it's very 70s. Like I
Mhm.
do feel like this is one of the most
Wow,
70s tastic songs on the album.
wow.
But that kind of reminds me a little bit of While My Guitar Gently Weeps a little bit. I mean, it is quite different,
It's
but
I can't
it's
remember what
got
the
that
pedal is called. I'm sure that some
wah
listener,
wah pedal, maybe.
yes, yes. Yeah,
Um,
it's great. And you know, again, like this album has so many great guitar hero moments on it. And I'm saying that a little bit tongue in cheek because we talked previously about you know, this is still pretty early in the 70s, but a lot of the guitar work that I hear, it sounds like, oh, this is laying the groundwork for rock. This is laying the groundwork for hard rock. In that time period, Led
yeah, I
Zeppelin, other bands, they were
agree.
laying those musicians were laying the groundwork for what we now would just in our musical communal consciousness is like, yeah, that's rock guitar. Like that's a guitar hero guitar.
And some of the bands, and we've talked about this before, some of the bands that I know they saw in Los Angeles, which they have talked about, which we've talked about. They saw early Led Zeppelin shows, so they would have seen some of that amazing Jimmy Page guitar playing. They were big fans of that band Love. Do you know that they have that
Oh
song?
yeah, I only
Yeah,
know like two
that it's
songs.
all
One of them,
right. But
yeah,
again, you got some nice guitar
yeah,
in
that
there
guy was a
too.
great guitar player. Yeah.
So they probably, had picked up on this. To be honest, this actually, I think this is like the closest to when people say this is the glam rock album of Sparks, I can really feel that in this song. There
Yeah.
is something in this that sort of reminds me a little bit of Spiders from Mars, the Ziggy Stardust, and the Aladdin Sane with those guitars.
Yeah.
So I really love that. And then the other thing I really love is that the song actually kind of fades out on a much more positive guitar note. I just love that sort of opening up of the song. So yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's one of my absolute favorites on this album.
Yeah.
So
I do enjoy it. And I'm so glad we actually dug into it because now that now that I'm done with my first can of wine, I'm at that tipsy point where I'm like, that's right, it's all fucking awesome. Which it is. So I hope everyone who I hope the 10 people who listen to this just appreciate, like, if we're saying something that sounds critical, it's only meant to be like analysis. I love the music. We both really love it. And it's just Melanie and I's brains work very differently, which is a good thing. So I'm always very excited to hear like her take and my take. And
yeah, but I think we both get really analytical when it comes to, I mean, that's kind of why we're doing this. And we both, as we said, love talking about music. I was actually thinking about this earlier this week, Amy, because one of the things I was thinking about with this podcast was I want this to be something that is like an homage and a sign of respect to Ron and Russell Mael and all the musicians who've worked for them. I mean, because I think I said this to my mom. I was like, I don't want to be like leeching off them, like. And what I mean, obviously, we would not have this podcast if it weren't for them. But it's because we really love their music and we find it so interesting. We just feel like there's so much we can talk about with this. And again, I feel like we need more shows with women talking about music because I think we will talk about different stuff. I mean, again, hashtag not all men, hashtag not all women, but our views. Who doesn't want a show with two white middle-aged ladies talking about things? Come on.
jabbering and jabbering, jibber jabbering.
And on that note, let's move on to Thank God It's Not Christmas. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Thank God It's Not Christmas.
Yeah.
So For the rock nerds out there, this is the last song on side one of the original release. So if you got your vinyl, you're going to have to turn it over soon. Um, but this is also one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah.
I really love that opening guitar riff, which honestly, that could be out today. Like, I feel like this could open up an indie song today easily.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It really reminds me of do you remember that Strokes album, Is This It or This Is It? Like, they had a lot of hard driving guitars that had a real similar beat, but it does not. This song, at least from that opening, does not sound like a song that came out in 1974. It sounds like a song that really could have come out yesterday. And I also just love the concept once again of taking a Christmas song and then being like, thank God it's not Christmas. They could have gone all morbid like Prince's Christmas song, or you could just say, thank God it's not Christmas. So
yeah, it is an amazing opening, and I like your time travel theory because
I don't know. I just came up with it the other day. It could be true.
It lays the groundwork for just so much music to come in the future. And yeah, it's got a great, when I hear this beginning and it's like and then it goes back up the scale again. One of the things I love is when I listen to a lot of their music, because it is so timeless, I frequently I make these medleys, like, oh, now it's gonna go off into this song, and I feel like you can hear a little bit of like the King's Father Christmas. Like, it could turn into that. It could turn into Slade singing like it's Christmas. It just has that wonderful vibe. And then the vamping keyboards come in, and it really sounds like we could go anywhere. We could be hanging up stockings, or we could be talking about thank God it's not Christmas.
Which is why it's an awesome Christmas song. And actually, just a fun fact for you all, Queen opened for Sparks in the early 70s, not actually before. I think when Sparks went to the UK, before they did Kimono My House, Queen opened for them. And later, as you may know, Queen wrote and recorded a Christmas song called Thank God It's Christmas. And because I was listening to this album a lot around Christmas time, and I did think to myself, oh, I wonder if they came up with the title because of the Sparks song. It's very possible. It's very possible, because certainly Queen knew who Sparks was because they opened for them. So, and of course they would have been in the UK during the Sparks Mania time. And I think we talked about this on a previous show. Brian May auditioned to be in their band. They wanted him in the band. So I don't know, maybe not, but we know that they haven't. It's funny that you say we're mentioning other bands. It makes you think, okay, so they probably influenced this band and this one and this one,
yeah, or they were just so of the time. The other thing that I really like about this opening and about the whole song is we talked before about like the driving guitar, and one of the things I really enjoy about piano is that piano can either be like a rhythm instrument, meaning that it is feeding into the beat and the tempo of the song, or it can be melodic, it can be beautiful melodies. And this is a really driving, like vamping keyboards. And it's, I'm always impressed with keyboard players who can do this type of rhythm piano playing, because you have to be very consistent. You have to be very consistent. You have to be able to do this in very evenly for long periods of time. And I'm tired just doing this. But it's done so well, and it's done in a way that it pushes the song forward, and it gives it that really driving sound. I love it.
Well, doing a repetitive beat repeatedly for a long time, you can tell that the sparkles have
You're gonna get some muscle. You're gonna get some muscle soreness.
I was actually just gonna say that seems straight up Ron Mail's alley. Like, yes, I can hit a repetitive beat for a really long time.
Yeah.
He is the master of that. The other thing I just want to say is that This is a great concept for a song. I mean, let's be honest, Christmas is a lot of work. It's infused with a huge amount of emotion, all this expectation. I honestly feel relieved when Christmas is over to some extent. Thank God it's not Christmas. The other thing I will say is that Russell sounds great on this. This kind of comes back to this, like, he's made a decision for how he wants to sound on this, and he has like a very sort of sexy kind of thing going on with this. If I were, I love it's like sort of reedy, sort of sexy. If I were a teen
It is
girl,
sexy. Yes, yes. It because it's a little bit lower. It's slightly lower in the range than some of the other songs on the album, and yeah, it has that like, come here.
yes, yes. If I were a teen girl in 1974 listening to this, I would definitely play this song again and again while staring at all of my pictures of young cutie pie Russell on the wall. Like, you can see how the Sparks Mania came out of this album. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a really wonderful song. It is one of my favorites. It's not my favorite, but it is up there.
So this song has a lot of different little change ups in it. That's probably not the right term, but when I was making some notes, it, like I said, it's pretty heavy on piano, the kind of rhythm piano, and it's got these great vocals, but there are still some of those great rock guitar moments. And I think I wrote down that
yes,
at about 2:20, there's a great 15-second, like, just guitar here a bit. And I want to read a comment from one of our commenters, Grufe. I don't know how to respond to the comment. I can't find it anymore, so my apologies that we
maybe he deleted it.
But what he kind of brought this up too, that and I don't know if this is a part of the song that he was talking about, where he said, if you're going to go into music theory, I'd love to hear you talk about Thank God It's Not Christmas. That A major scale slipping down into the F Phrygian for the chorus, especially after the fake out going into the second verse, is just brilliant. I'm not sure that I'm quite that knowledgeable with my music theory.
I am definitely not. I know the scale, like that every good boy loves fudge or whatever it is, but I don't, or every good boy deserves fudge, but that's about it.
I'm not going to correct you. But that's pretty good. I know.
Thank you. It's been a while.
Anyway, so clearly I think that this is one of those songs that there's lots of different lovely little moments, because right after that, like, guitar hero moment, you've got, like, I wrote, like, you got kind of this like soft shoe moment. So there's just a lot of different things going on. And I think that, again, I think it's one of the reasons why people are continuing to get excited about their music and really enjoy talking about it, is because it's, as I love Buddy Holly, I'm using it as an example. It's not your traditional A B, 3 or 4 chord song.
To be fair to Buddy, I am convinced that had he lived, he would have done increasingly more complex pieces of music, because he was really a talented musician. Anyway,
I'm using it. Sorry, not his music, but that.
But I know what you mean. It's quite simple, and actually, a lot of early rock and roll is very simple.
Yeah, and this is, like we said before, this is a 25-year-old rock. Rock has only been around for 25, 30 years, and it is stretching its wings.
I love the way you have phrased that. Well, I mean, you think like early 70s, you're sort of coming out of the psychedelia, vanilla fudge, moving into a lot of hard, drivey stuff.
Yeah, but with like Hendrix guitar and stuff.
Yes.
They were laying the groundwork for then. What's the movie with Michael J. Fox and he goes back in time?
Oh, Back to the Future.
Right? I just blanked.
Oh, where white Michael J. Fox teaches Chuck Berry one of his most famous songs. Yeah, that's the movie,
it's more like he it's more to me it's a good example of the part, because he starts like some lead guitar, and they're like, yeah, it's great, but then he like jumps ahead 30 years.
Oh yeah, he does the whole like mega guitar solo, and
everybody's
looking at him, they're like, but your kids are gonna love it.
Yeah, like they just haven't heard that yet, and or
Mhm.
it just hasn't made its way into the musical consciousness yet, but it had made its way into our musical consciousness 30, 40 years later when the movie came out. So anyway, I don't know where I'm
That's
going with
really
this.
no, that's really interesting. There's actually musicologists have done little studies on this about different
Sure.
moments where music really changed. I don't know them all, but definitely that sort of 1955 rock moment was one. I'm sure there was another. Oh, I think disco was another big one. And actually the mainstreaming of rap in the early
Oh
90s,
yeah.
which to me is kind of interesting because I was born in 1973, so I was 18 in 1991, and that's approximately when that rap moment happened. My older brother was born in 1972. He's 1 year older than me. I like a lot more rap and hip hop than he does. Now that could be just because I'm cooler, but
You like a lot more
but
of that than I do, and you always did. You were always much more into it than I was.
well, one of the things I like, I mean, I do really like R&B, but I also I love really clever lyrics, which is another reason why I love Sparks. Anything else you want to say about this one, or shall
No,
we?
no, it's a great ending to side B. It's got I think
Side
the
one.
last thing I wrote was that I really liked the ending of this song. And again, now that I know that's like the ending of side A, because it kind of hits these final chords and the melody, the instruments are going up in the scale and there's like a final kind of cymbal crash
Yes.
and you expect it to actually keep going, but it doesn't. It's like a hard stop, hard cut, and that's very thrilling. It's, as I said, one of, I think there's only a few songs on this album that have the not, don't use the fade out, they have the hard stop, and this is one of them, and I think it's super effective.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great ending track for side one of an album. In fact, I want to get back to what we were talking about with these, like the rock moving on to different things. I wonder if one of the factors was sort of the rise of FM radio, because this was like a big thing. You had AM radio, which was mostly pop stations. So for me, growing up in Chicago, WLS when I was a kid, that was like your big uh, pop station. But this was sort of when FM started to become a thing. And one of the things that FM was known for was, first of all, as Steely Dan once said, no static at all. But no static at all. But anyway, it's a good one. But the other thing it was really known for was this was where you could play these really deep cuts and these longer tracks. So, just throwing that in there.
I like it.
But this is, I mean, is this an FM album or an AM album? I would say maybe both. I don't know. I wasn't there. I feel like a lot of those FM songs are really long too. They're like these kind of long, like Pink Floyd, like Dark Side of the Moon. That album is just made for 70s FM radio, really, except for maybe Money.
Well, what because your dad was a radio DJ, he
That's
DJed
right.
FM radio.
Oh, no, he was more rock radio, like kind of your singles, hit singles
And was it an
radio.
AM station?
I believe so. I have a vague memory of calling him to request "Short People" by Randy Newman.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
It seemed really exciting. Like I didn't listen to the lyrics. I just knew it was about short people and I was a short person. So I was really excited.
Way ahead of your time with the shorties.
Speaking of calling radios and requesting songs, I once called to request "All the Young Dudes" by Mott the Hoople, who also opened for Sparks, by the way.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
they did. I think in the Kimono era, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But maybe a couple years after Kimono. But anyway, I didn't know that All the Young Dudes was by Mott the Hoople. I thought it was by David Bowie. And I think I was like 12 or something like that. So I called our local radio station. I requested All the Young Dudes by David Bowie. There was a pause on the other end of the line. And the woman who answered just went, "How old are you?" Because I think I also didn't know the title. I think I said I wanted to hear the Carry the Ludes song.
Oh my god, that would be such a great satire.
That is a great song, but that is
Lutes.
There is a loose cougar. Okay, anyway. Okay, so we are going to take the needle off of our record for now. But we just want to say thank you so much for listening. We love the comments we've got. Thank you so much to the people who've subscribed. If you like what we're doing, we'd love you to subscribe. If you're not into that, that's fine. You can just listen or not. Whatever you want to do, we're cool with it. But keep on rocking. Keep on enjoying that sparks. I'm gonna keep on rocking. In the words of Dirk Diggler, I'm gonna keep on making films. I'm gonna keep on rocking. So,
oh, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
I can't hear myself think with all that music blaring. Yes, I'm falling.